series against Chicago last night, 4-1. Gentlemen's sweep. Now they advance to play the Boston Celtics. The Greek Freak led all scorers with 33 points. Meanwhile, reports say Giannis's co-star, Chris Middleton, he just might miss that entire series against Boston, dealing with that MCL sprain. That would be a huge loss. Shannon, that series starts Sunday. You think Giannis is going to prove he's the best player on the planet?
Well, I think Giannis is the best player on the planet, but it's not just enough for you to be the best. You're going to need your supporting cast. And Skip, we saw that. Chris Middleton goes down. Now Bobby Portis is giving you 14 and 17. Pat Connaughton comes off the bench. He gives you 20. Grayson Allen, all of a sudden, he can't miss. He's 3 or 6 last night after going, where did he go the other night? 8 or 9 from the three-point line?
In the 5 games, he was 14 of 24 from 3. That's 58%.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that's what it's going to take in the absence of Chris Middleton. Somebody's going to have to produce those points.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Giannis. Giannis is going to be Giannis. Now, Boston does have a compelling – they can match up with Giannis because they're a big team. They go Tice. They can go Robert Williams. They can go Al Horford. So they can build a wall to keep him out of the lane. The question is, can these guys still hit those shots that they hit against Chicago? Chicago didn't even come to see that. They should have just stayed. They should have just stayed home.
Agreed.
That was a pathetic performance last night.
Well, they're just beat up and hurt.
They're like, we ain't got no chance to win.
And they missed Lonzo Ball. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Caruso, because those are the defensive guys. Defense. But when you look at Portis doing what he does, and this is a big team now. Boston hadn't faced. The Nets are a small team compared to what they're about to face with Milwaukee. You got 6'11" Giannis, you got 6'10" Bobby Portis, you got 7-foot Brook Lopez.
You do.
So they got an imposing front line. The question is, Skip, will these role players, because I know the role players, is Milwaukee role players better than Boston? I know what I'm going to get from Grant Williams. I know what I'm going to get from Tice. I know what I'm going to get from Pritchard. I know what I'm going to get with some of the other guys. Giannis is going to be Giannis. Skip, you look at him in the first round, 29 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists on 57% shooting. He was plus 86 and plus minus. So I'm not worried about Giannis. We saw last night, we're going to talk about Jokic. Jokic gave you 30 and 19. You need a little something, you need a little boost from somebody else. So I'm going to say Giannis. I love the Celtics. And I hate. This should be an Eastern. This should have to take place in the second round.
I'll buy that.
This needs to be an Eastern Conference Finals matchup.
Okay.
But unfortunately, hey, it is what it is. It's the 2 versus the 3.
Yep.
I'm gonna take the Bucks. I got to ride with the Bucks because I had them at the beginning of the season. I would feel a lot more comfortable had they had Chris Middleton. This is the hand they've been dealt. They got to play these cards. But I think it's going to be an unbelievable matchup. I'm gonna say the Bucks win in 7. But I'm like on a scale of confidence, I'm like at a 4.
At a 4, said
on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 4 as far as confidence without Middleton, getting past the Celtics.
Speaking of a 4, the Celtics at home are a 5-point Game 1 favorite.
Wow.
That tips at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 10 a.m. Eastern here in L.A. on Sunday.
Were they ever that big of a favorite against Brooklyn? I don't think they were ever that big of a favorite, Skip.
I don't think so. Obviously, that has something to do with no Chris Middleton.
Right. Okay.
Okay. I have had to listen to you talk about Giannis this and Giannis that for a couple of years now.
You know what he is.
I don't know what he is.
You do.
But I'm about to find out, which is why I love this matchup. This is the perfect opportunity for Giannis to step forward and show the rest of the world outside of Shannon Sharp's world, that he is unquestionably the best player on the planet, capital, 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 capital.
You want him to do something the other best player on the planet couldn't do. Okay.
I would agree. Okay. And fittingly, perfectly, he gets the opportunity to prove that against the very defense that just knocked Kevin Bleepin Durant off that throne of best player on the planet. You disagreed for a while at LeBron.
Giannis did that last year.
Okay. Well, I disagree because I disqualify what Giannis did in last year's NBA Finals. He averaged 35, 13, and 5 in those finals.
Why you disqualified?
I'm about to get there. He shot 62% from the field in those 6 games. 62%. Wasn't great from 3 of 15, but shockingly good from the free throw line because he wound up at 66%. But in the closeout game 6, he made 17 of 19 free throws.
Yes.
After earlier in the playoffs, he stood there dribbling and doing this as they booed him and counted his dribbles, right? And just they counted his dribbles into psychological oblivion for him, and he managed to rise above that. Why was he able to rise and overcome that? Because he was guarded in single coverage during the finals by one DeAndre Ayton, and to quote the great Shannon Sharp, he's too light in the britches. He needs a couple of bricks in his back pocket because he doesn't have anything in his back pocket. He's a beanpole, and he's kind of got like a baby man body, but it's still kind of a baby going on man body. He's got a man face, obviously, but he just doesn't pack enough wallop physically to stand up to Giannis.
Right.
And remember what Chris Paul said? I think it was after Game 4 loss, maybe, where he's saying, I guess we should build a wall. And he's like trying to send a message to his young coach.
Yes.
Monty, guess how Toronto beat him? Guess how Miami used to beat up on him? They just built a wall and said, you can't come in here. If you're going to do any damage, you can do it from 8 feet out to 15 feet, but you can't come in here and dunk on us.
Yes.
You can't get anything easy at the basket. And when you took that away, you took him pretty much completely out of play.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Who better to do that than the team you just described in your opening soliloquy? They are long, they are strong, they are nasty on defense. They're a pack of wild dogs on defense. And they have a coach, Ime Udoka, who's about to sick his pack of dogs on Giannis. You know and I know that when they focused on Kevin Durant and said, we're going to take him out of the game, obviously different sort of psychological makeup than Giannis, but they just beat him up, and then they just beat the hell out of him on the scoreboard and on the floor.
Yes.
They played football, basketball, defense, and it was a spectacle. I'm still shell-shocked from how bad, just the shock factor for me is just how much he got overmatched and overwhelmed by Boston's defense. And Ime obviously sat on the Nets coaching bench last year. He knew exactly where the weaknesses were, where the softness was, and he attacked the weaknesses.
Well, Skip, it's going to be the same approach.
It will.
I don't believe Seth Curry. I don't believe Bruce Brown. I don't believe these other guys, the auxiliary guys, can beat us. And he's going to take that same approach. Giannis, we're going to limit you. I'm going to see if Bobby Portis, I'm going to see if Connington, I'm going to see if Grayson Allen, I'm going to see if those guys can beat me. I don't believe they can beat me 4 times in a 7-game series. I just don't. That's going to be approach. Now, Giannis can't get passive, and all of a sudden, every time he sees the double team come, sometimes he's going to have to do what KD did in the last game, Skip. He saw the double team coming, he's whirled quick. Headed to the baseline, elevated. You're right. That's not Giannis' game. The key for Giannis is to get the ball and push it up himself. He loves to lead the break, try to beat guys down the court. Now, Al Horford, those guys, Al does a great job. He's on a little long in the tooth, but he's done a great job getting back. Robert Williams should be even a little more healthy.
I would say.
Tice, they got 3 bodies, Skip. They got 18 fouls. That's how I'm looking at it. We got 18 fouls. If push come to shove, we're going to see if he can do what he did in the championship game last year, go 17 or 19. But we're not giving him dunks, and we're not giving him layups. But he's going to find a way. Giannis going to find a way.
Is he going to find a way? And why did I disqualify him from best player on the planet all along? Because he's not even the closer for his own team. Chris Middleton is the closer. Chris Middleton is not available, and I don't think he'll be available for the rest of this series.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back in. But who closed Phoenix last year?
I don't know. Monty Williams closed them. Because you can't overcome 35, 13, and 5 assists a game. You can't overcome 62% from the floor. It just was a downhill wipeout. After games 1 and 2, here they came, and there they went. And it was they didn't need a closer.
Skip, Giannis in his last 7 playoff closeout games, 33, 12, 6 on 60% shooting.
I'm talking about making the shot in the game. And I saw Chris Middleton make the shot in the game because the championship series was actually the, second round. against the Brooklyn Nets that went all the way to overtime at Brooklyn in Game 7.
And then Giannis took it over.
Yep.
Giannis took it over.
Kevin Durant's toenail hadn't been on the line, your team would have been out.
But we saw Giannis this year, Skip, to close the game against Philly.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, no, he did one against Brooklyn. That was Brooklyn. He hit that three-pointer.
He did.
He did that, and then took it over in overtime. And then
Can he do it at this stage, this level?
We just saw him do it last year.
Okay.
When you had your eyes closed.
I am betting against Giannis. I am betting on the Celtics to win this in 7 games. I'll be conservative in my pick. I'll go 7 games, but it could be sooner than that.
First of all, how are you going to pick the team to beat your team? Why would you pick them?
I'm picking them because they beat my team. The way they beat my team.
But your team weren't very good. I told you that.
The way they beat my, I had the best player on the planet. Past tense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been on the team for 3 years. So maybe if you want to say that first year he was rehabbing, you want to say he was the best, but he wasn't. Giannis has been the best player for a year. Go and get a man his due, Skip.
I'm not.
Why?
Because this is the time you have the greatest opportunity of your career to show me. Just show me.
He didn't show you last year.
No, I just told you. Not against DeAndre Ayton. It was.
No, what against Kevin Durant? What about Lamar? What about those guys? What he did last year?
The shot in the overtime of Game 7 was made by Chris Middleton. The game-winning shot, Chris Middleton.
But we put the clamps on it.
Yeah.
Skip, look. All I'm saying, look. I would love this matchup. I would feel a lot more confident. I would say, you know what, Skip? This thing only going 6. Milwaukee will win this in 6. But I just don't. Without Chris Middleton, because I know Chris Middleton, and he can get herky-jerky sometimes also, Skip.